Hi, I'm Suresh Venkat in conversation with Sidharth Roy Kapoor, the Managing Director of Disney India. Sidharth, first question for you. You produce a whole lot of movies. How do you judge a good one from a bad one?
Well, that's a very subjective question. I think your first gut reaction to a script is really what you have to go by. That would be the prime determinant of a decision about whether to move forward with the movie or not. After that would come your faith in the director's ability to be able to translate that script to screen, whether you buy into his vision, what you think about the budget, the casting, etc. But I think the first decision, if you ask me, and if we had to pinpoint that, would be the screenplay.
Which brings me to my second question. Do you have the time to read all the scripts that come to you?
So the good part is I've got a really strong creative team that actually is able to interface with filmmakers, writers across the industry, meets creative people all the time, and the scripts that they consider, that we should be taking forward are the ones that I would read. So thankfully, I don't need to read everything that we receive.
Don't a lot of filmmakers want you to read the script directly?
Yes, they do. And of course, if one has an equation with some of them and they are, those we've worked with in the past, or someone whose screenplay you really do consider that you should be reading immediately, those are the ones that I would.
With two actor brothers and meeting so many directors and producers, no temptation to either turn director or actor?
I think I've always had the bug to be in entertainment, but very early on, and probably sometime in college, one realized that it's actually production, the production part of it, putting things together, being a catalyst rather than actually having to be up there on stage or behind a camera, etc., is what really gives me a kick. And I think that translates across to all the other forms of media that one is involved in today, whether it's television, whether it's mobile games, anything that's to do with entertainment is really what gave me a kick. It wasn't necessarily having to be out there in the spotlight.
Right, so you're happy with any part of the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
In the mid-90s or late 90s, the multiplex phenomenon disrupted traditional movie distribution. Since then, we haven't seen too much business model disruption. What do you think is the next big likely disruption in your business?
I'd say probably digital. I think that really, and we've been saying that for a long time, of course, and we've taken a fair amount of time for broadband speeds to be able to get to a level where that can really disrupt things and move on to the next level in terms of the connectivity and the ability to stream full-length movies in a way that is actually accessible to a wide range of the audience. But that probably would be the next step for us to look at the business model changing.
And how are things like torrents and downloading changing the strategy that you use in your business?
It's very difficult to combat piracy on a micro level. Of course, one does everything that one can in terms of, ensuring that we've got a very strong anti-piracy team, whether it's an online team, whether it's a physical goods team, working with the authorities to be able to stamp it out. But it is endemic to our business, and that's something that we've learned that to a certain extent we will have to live with. I think it's just about creating great content that people have got to consume in the way that you would like them to consume it in. So whether it's getting them to come to the cinema hall, whether it's getting them to watch a legitimate, copy of the film, whether it's something that they feel like they really have to own rather than just enjoy and then not go back to. I think it does boil down to compelling content and something that is to start with a theatrical experience and then an experience that you want to own and possess.
Let's talk about television for a moment. We have seen companies like Netflix and Amazon in the US, instead of being pipelines, actually become producers of TV shows, whether it's House of Cards or it's Orange is the New Black. And they are releasing all 12 episodes on a day or 10 episodes on a day because that's how consumers want to watch. Why do we see so little innovation in Indian television?
See, it isn't about the innovation. I think it's more about appealing to, where in our country, television appeals to a mass audience. And you've got to be able to create content that appeals to that audience in a way that they enjoy watching it.
Arguably, Orange is the New Black caters to a mass audience in the US.
It does, but I don't think binge viewing is something in an Indian context. I mean, you have to look at our demographics. You have to look at our socioeconomic background. You have to look at the amount of disposable income, number one, and disposable free time that people have to spend on leisure and entertainment. And we in Mumbai and Delhi, we tend to think that that's the center of our universe. But when we go out there, and especially a mass medium like television, you've got to be able to understand that India is a very large country, and television as a medium at this point of time is catering to that mass sensibility.
When you watch so many movies as a member of the audience, you're sitting back thinking, my God, what were they thinking? They put money and time and resources and actors and directors behind this. Out of all the films we produce, why do we produce so many bad or average films?
The first
Not you particularly.
Yeah,
this is an industry-wide question.
I see what you're saying. I think to your first comment, you're absolutely right as an audience. And movies is something that we all have an opinion on.
So much time and money has gone into making that.
But at the same time, I think one has to realize that there are so many different factors involved in the course of the making of a movie. And if any of those factors don't come together, at times the final product does suffer. no one goes out to make a bad movie to start with, of course. And sometimes people make wrong judgments and it goes down that route. What I do think that we need to do is pay our writers more and put more effort to actually having an organized setup for training in which writers can actually evolve and develop and be groomed in a way that we all know the basic tenets of screenplay writing. You can pick up any book and you can read that, but I think it's about practice, it's about training, it's about rigor, it's about being able to actually make writing a profession that is sustainable rather than becoming a stepping stone to direction or a stepping stone into something that is more lucrative. That's where I think we failed as a creative industry at this point of time.
All right. Sidharth Roy Kapoor, my final question for you. Mobile video, tablet video, or internet video has been touted as the new black with multiple players entering this. Where do you think the future lies in that genre?
I think it's all about giving an audience the ability to interact with your content, to be able to personalize your content to their needs, which is that I want to watch something when I want to watch it in the way that I want to watch it, and to make it mobile, which is basically using these platforms. I think if every content creator can start thinking about interactivity, can start thinking about personalization and thinking about mobility, then that will guide your strategy in terms of the way that you interact with platforms. Content is always going to be key, and that's always going to be crucial. But we have to understand that consumers today want to consume that content in ways that they were not used to doing earlier.
Does this spell the end of conventional television broadcasting, for instance?
I don't believe that. I think in the US as well, the entire industry is grappling with that question right now. But there's still massive revenues and massive subscriptions coming from traditional bundled services. But you are seeing, a lot of traction behind the services that you mentioned as well. So it really is a tipping point at this point of time. I don't think it's imminent, but it's definitely on the horizon. And I think everyone has to figure out how to navigate those waters.
Right. And on the film side, what are you looking forward to at Disney?
We've got a lot of really great productions on the floors at this point. We've got ABCD2, we've got Jaga Jasoos, we've got Fitur, we've got Mohenjo-daro, we've got a lot of very, very interesting content lined up for audiences across the Disney as well as the UTV brands.
Right.
And of course, we've got Star Wars coming up at the end of the year, and we've got the Avengers in May, so very interesting times.
All right, exciting job and lots to look forward to. Sidharth Roy Kapoor, thank you for talking to us and all the best with Disney UTV.
Thanks, Suresh.